This weekend at Sha Tin, history is on the line.
But it's Voyage Bubble. He won it last year, and again, he wins the Stewards Cup.
Voyage Bubble, with the world's best jockey James McDonald aboard, just one win away from immortality, chasing the Hong Kong Triple Crown in the Group 1 Champions and Chater Cup.
Voyage Bubble, he put them away. I'll just drop in from Riyadh, says James McDonald, and grab the City Hong Kong Gold Cup.
But the final duel won't come easy. From across the globe, English invader Dubai Honour is battle-tested, proven at the 1.5 miles, and back for revenge.
Dubai Honour had to squeeze through but will gain the victory here.
Dubai Honour races to the front in the Tancred Stakes and remains unbeaten in 3 Group 1s.
Also lining up, the Hong Kong Derby champ, Cap Ferrar. And don't sleep on Rubylot, the Classic Cup winner and QE2 Cup hard luck story, with Hugh Bowman aboard and something to prove. It's the stamina test of all stamina tests. Will Voyage Bubble cement his place in Hong Kong racing history, or will another horse burst the bubble? Hong Kong's Triple Crown is on the line. You're watching the Hong Kong Racing Show, and yes, the Triple Crown is on the line. Not the American Triple Crown, although we will talk a little bit about that during the show as well, with a former Hong Kong jockey winning the Preakness on the weekend. But first and foremost, we'll be focusing on the Hong Kong Triple Crown, where this weekend at Sha Tin, Voyage Bubble will look to become just the second horse in history to achieve that feat. I'm Andrew Brown, joined by my co-pilot, Alex Evers, for a massive show. We will, of course, share our picks and analysis for the Group 1 Champions and Chater Cup. Our special guest, Jockey Hugh Bowman. He'll be riding Rubylot in the big Group 1 on the weekend. So I'm looking forward to hearing what he has to say about his chances in the Champions and Chater Cup. And we'll also take a little walk down memory lane with Huey too and talk about the mighty Australian mare Winx as well. So looking forward to having a chat with him about that. But time to bring in Alex, who is in Hong Kong. Alex, how pumped are you for the weekend?
Pumped, man. If there's a Triple Crown on the line, look, I got to see Justify. I missed American Pharaoh. Weird circumstances, but to see a Hong Kong Triple Crown winner would be pretty awesome. So just to have that opportunity is absolutely incredible. And he's up against a stiff test with Dubai Honor. He comes over a true 2,400-meter horse. Hong Kong necessarily not the most, not known for stamina-based horses, more mile, sprint, 2,000 meters at the high end. But we'll see. Great opportunity for Voyage Bubble. And as Ricky Hughes said, he's matured a lot. He's relaxed a lot. His run in the Gold Cup was absolutely incredible with every excuse to lose. And he finished off really strong. And with the barrier draws the way they look, with him just two stalls outside of Dubai Honor, J-Mac should be able to just follow him the whole way. And if he's good enough to kick home with the class that he has, we'll see.
Yeah, gosh, it's just a really exciting race. Lots of a couple of different form lines as well coming into it. So it's really exciting stuff. As I mentioned, you've been there in Hong Kong for the past week. You've been out at track work and training and all that kind of stuff. Have any of the Champions and Chater Cup contenders caught your eye in the mornings?
Voyage Bubbles looked well, and I think he's coming into this race. I personally like that he went from a mile instead of going to the QE2 at the 2,000 meters. I just think it sets him up better for this test here. And like the way it looks to me, the speed maps aren't out yet, and the form hasn't officially hit the map yet. But it just looks like a paceless race, and it could be a crawl. And if they do go incredibly slow, I think it really does favor Voyage Bubble. And he's a tremendous horse. He's got that romantic warrior golden 60 form, and we've seen that form kind of hold up around the world. Dubai Honor has Via Sistina form, she's just as good as those horses. Yeah. So we'll see. It's a really, really interesting test. Dubai Honor's had his opportunities here in Hong Kong. He ran incredible in December to finish second to Gia Velota, who got an absolutely incredible ride by Oisin Murphy. So we'll see. The forecast to me doesn't look like it's going to be enough rain to give Dubai Honor that cut in the ground that he might be looking for. And I think that does favor Voyage Bubble, who, if he's a deep field, he might not be bred for 2,400, but he's one of the classier horses in Hong Kong. And I think he's going to rely on that class to get the job done on Sunday.
For sure. Well, we're going to share our picks and some more analysis on this massive race this weekend at Sha Tin shortly. But Alex, while you've been busy, or while you were busy this morning out there taking photos at Sha Tin, I actually had the opportunity to catch up with Hugh Bowman, who, of course, is going to be riding Rubylot in the big race on Sunday. Had a great chat with him. Should we cross to him now? What do you think?
Let's go to it.
All right, here's Huey. Well, awesome to be joined on the show by not just one of Hong Kong's best, but one of the world's best jockeys, Hugh Bowman. Huey, how are things, mate?
Andrew, very well, thank you. It's nice to hear from you. Nice to be
Yeah,
on your show.
good to have you aboard. So let's start with this weekend's Group 1 Champions and Chater Cup, of course. You're aboard the David Hayes trained Rubylot, the classic cup winner from a few back, and you were on him last out for his fifth in the QE2 Cup. What did you like about his run in the QE2 Cup that has you optimistic about his chances this weekend?
I think you're on very, very well. I in fact recommended to David Hayes that he consider running in the Champions and Chater. I mean, for these middle distance horses in Hong Kong, they don't really get many opportunities. And this horse, albeit he's by rubric, a sprinting sire in Australia, he's got some stout pedigree on his mother's side. And going into the QE2 when I rode him over 2,000 metres, I was a bit wary as to whether he had the stamina to run the 2,000 strongly. But having ridden him, he's got a beautiful temperament. He's a big, strong horse, and he just had stayer written all over him when I rode him. So I thought it was, I recommended that maybe consider this race. So it'll be interesting to see if my prediction's right, but I think he's capable of certainly competing very, very well.
God, Hazy will think you're a genius if you pull this one off then. And I know you rode him a couple of times last season. Have you noticed a big difference in him? Because it was probably a year between rides, I guess, from the time he turned from 3 to 4.
Yeah, well, I have, because when I won on him last season, it was 1,000 metres, and at the time, he's obviously, David was trying to settle him down and get him to relax. He was sort of jumping and running his races upside down, but obviously there's been a lot of water going to the bridge between drinks, so to speak, since I last rode him. But yeah, he's changed physically, he's changed, and mentally he's really developed. And in the meantime, he managed to win the Classic Cup, as you pointed out, over 1,800 metres. So he's continued to develop, and quite frankly, I don't think we've seen the best of him yet. So, win, lose or draw this weekend in the Champions and Chater, I think he's going to be a well-furnished horse for next season over these distances.
That's good to know. Plenty of tough competition you're facing. Is it Voyage Bubble, who's in search of the Triple Crown, or Dubai Honor, the English Invader? In your mind, the horse to beat? Which one?
Look, I think you can make a case for both of them. It's hard to separate them for different reasons. Dubai Honor, I think he's proven at the distance, and he's a proven traveller. I think his better form is when there's a bit of moisture in the ground. I'm predicting a firm deck on the weekend, but he has performed well on top of the ground as well. So I don't see track conditions as any issue for Dubai Honor. It's just a case if he's travelled well and settled in and performs to his best, I think, I think he's the one to beat. But Voyage Bubble, I've been in Hong Kong now for 2.5 years, and however, I have been visiting the jurisdiction and riding for some 10 or 15 years. And the one thing that I have noticed when coming to compete in Hong Kong, that the local horses do have a distinct advantage over all distances, and they can never be discounted regardless of form. So I think Voyage Bubble, he is the highest rated local horse going to and significantly too, actually, going into the race. So, if he brings his best, then he's likely got the advantage. But all I'd say about Voyage Bubble, his best distances seem to be, a fast run mile, or he's performed well at 2,000. So there probably is a little bit of a query at the 2,400 if it does become a real staying test.
And Huey, you, of course, are the last jockey to have beaten Voyage Bubble too, aren't you? With that terrific win in the Champions Mile on Champions Day aboard Redline, different horse to you riding on Sunday. How big a thrill was that a few weeks back? And did you think you'd won it when your noses hit the wire?
I wasn't sure. In fact, I wasn't confident. I thought we might have just been nutted. And it was a head up, head down situation. But Look, he's a very brave horse, Redline. He's a very consistent horse, and he consistently runs sort of 2 to 3 lengths behind, the highest rated horses, and that's where his level is. But he got the race to suit. He controlled things in front, and when I needed him to fight, that's exactly what he did. And thoroughly deserved. He's a courageous horse, and it was a huge thrill. It really was. It meant a lot.
Yeah, we saw some great pictures of you. I love that big fist pump that we see in slow-mo. I think must have been just as you got the result of the photo finish that came through. But yeah, really, really awesome stuff. Two previous wins in the Champions and Chater Cup for you over the years. Can you just talk us through your win 2 years ago when you mowed down Romantic Warrior aboard Russian Emperor? Because that was epic.
Yes, it was. It was again, and that's a good example of the 2400 likely posing, maybe a little bit of a chink in the armor of Voyage Bubble, because once you get over these, beyond 2,000 meters, the stamina really is vital, and that was proven in that battle, because Russian Emperor's only form really was over 2,400 meters. Anything shorter, and he just simply wasn't up to it. He was coming to the twilight of his career. Romantic Warrior was just coming into the peak of his powers. But it was interesting that it was run at a pretty sedate early and middle stages, but the pressure really went on quite early from the 800-meter mark, and I think that was really what made it for us. It was circumstances outside of our makings, and once that pressure was poured onto Romantic Warrior early in the race, and tested his stamina, he wasn't able to see it out. But two great horses fighting it out, and it was a close finish as well. But a good example of the genuine 2,400-meter horse beating the champion.
Zach Purton wasn't dirty on you after that, was it? Because I think it was the last time he rode Romantic Warrior.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a fair race. I think he might have been more dirty on Derek Lung for taking him on from the 800 than he was for me. I was just minding my own business, and we got the result we were after, so that was the main thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Overall, Hugh, are you pleased with your season?
Yeah, it's been a great season. I've had a consistent flow of winners. I had a little bit of a slow patch through sort of the Christmas period, maybe before or just after. But once we got into the end of January, it's been a consistent flow of winners since then, and I'm more than satisfied with how we've been. And hopefully, we're looking to count down the meetings of this season. We'll finish on the 16th of July.
Yeah.
But looking forward to building on our progress next year.
Awesome. And I was going to say that you're happy there, and Christine and the kids are enjoying themselves. So you've still got a few more years under your belt in Hong Kong.
Look, we've settled in very well, and it's been a big lifestyle change for our family. But yeah, the girls have settled in well, and particularly when they're at school, they've got a really good routine, and they're doing a few activities outside of school too, as they would be at home naturally in Australia. So it's just been a change of lifestyle, which we've all settled in well, and looking forward to the time ahead.
That's great. Yeah. Huey, before I let you go, our audience in North America, obviously very familiar with you from your time riding the mighty Winx in Australia. She was a big hit with racing fans across the United States and Canada. How often do you find yourself thinking about that horse and the incredible ride that she took you on?
Yeah, not every day, but I must admit when I see the best horses run or race against them, whether it be, let's say, Ka Ying Rising, who's taking all before him now, Romantic Warrior, who's travelled the world and competed at the highest level. I think he's running two of the highest rating races of the entire season around the globe. It does remind me of just how special it is to be involved with a horse of that calibre.
Yeah.
And it also gives me great satisfaction to watch them race. Although I have to chase home Ka Ying Rising on the on the ever consistent Helios Express. You know, it's as a racing fan and a racing enthusiast, it really is special to see these good horses, and you know, we live in hope that we find another one before my days in the saddle are done. But you just never know what's around the corner in this game, and it's great to see them competing. And you know, she had a wonderful career, and you know, when I see these other great horses compete, and I look back at her record and what she was able to achieve so consistently for so long, I think, you know, it's just amazing. Actually, it's extraordinary.
Yeah, unbelievable. It all just listening to your talk almost makes the hair stand back on the back of your neck. But anyway, as you mentioned, Zach's found his Winx in Kai Ying Rising, and gosh, if you found another one before your career was done, that would be pretty phenomenal as well. Huey, how do you relax on, say, Friday or Saturday ahead of a big Group 1 race day like the Champions and Chatter Cup on Sunday?
Okay, that's a good question. So I'll play some golf on Friday morning.
Nice.
Um, and I enjoy my golf. And with the 2 day race day schedule here, you have a bit more time to do these things than I would in Australia. But Saturday though, I'll spend the morning with the kids, and then they'll do some activities in the middle of the day, and you know, in the afternoon I'll start to prepare myself for Sunday's events. I think we've got a 10 race card, so I've got a busy day Sunday, and yeah, the ball keeps rolling, as they say, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other rides that we should be looking at other than Rubylot for you on Sunday?
Geneva is a horse that's, you
Yeah.
know, he's a horse had a fair bit to do with early in his career. He found his way up in class, and you know, I lost touch with him because he was down in the weights. It's one thing that I am restricted here in Hong Kong is I can only really ride half the weight scale. But he's a horse that just lost his way a little bit, but his form's come back around. So I think he could race well on the weekend.
Awesome. All right. So Geneva and Rubylot in the big one. Huey, I've gone a few minutes over. I hope I haven't made you late for the trials. I want to thank you very much for joining us, and all the very best on Sunday for the final Group 1 of the season at Sha Tin.
Thanks very much, Andrew. It's nice to chat. Great
Really
to be on
good
the
to chat.
show, and hello to everyone in America. I know they were huge fans of Winx, and she was very popular all around the globe, but the Americans really sort of took to her. That was one thing I noticed, or we all noticed actually. So it was great.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get you over here one day to ride. Maybe a Breeders' Cup World Championships or something like that, Huey, or just a Saturday at Del Mar.
Oh, I'm easy. Winners are winners. Doesn't matter what level you're on.
Really enjoyed that chat with Huey. Alex, interesting to hear what he had to say about talking to David Hayes about convincing him to go to the 1.5 mile with Rubylot. Would you have ever thought he'd be a stayer?
No, especially not early in the season. He's by Rubik, same sire as Packing Hermod. He looked like a late running sprinter early on. The 1800 he ran incredible, but they had an exceptionally fast pace. But we'll see. I don't train horses, but I don't ride horses, so it's interesting to hear two legends have that opinion, and I believe in what those guys are saying more than what my talking head says.
Same here, same here. All right, well, let's take a look at the field for the Group 1 Champions and Chater Cup. The race 4:10 a.m. Eastern. So you're either going to have to get up early or stay up late if you're on the East Coast, or 1:10 a.m. Pacific for those watching in North America. It's over the 1.5 mile, over the 2,400 meters. A distance that will be new to number 1, Voyage Bubble. He's only gone as far as 1.25 miles, but he has won over that distance twice. Dubai Honor, no stranger to the distance. He's won Group 1s in Australia and Europe over the 1.5 miles. Many consider this English invader the horse to beat. Aussie jockey Craig Williams flies in to ride Cap Ferrar, the Hong Kong Derby champion. Hong Kong's leading jockey, Zach Purton, takes over on Ensued. We just heard from Huey Bowman about Rubylot. And down the bottom, Bundle Award, an interesting runner, the last out winner of the Queen Mother Memorial, over the distance of 1.5 miles. There's the speed map on your screen. Alex, does Hong Kong get a Triple Crown winner on the weekend? Your selections, please, sir.
I'm hoping for it, but I'm gotta go with Dubai Honor from Barrier One. I just think Tom Marquand goes to the front, sets his own fractions, and he's on the best stayer in the race. Don't get cute. Just go to the front, do your thing. I think Voyage Bubble runs second, and then for our American audience, ensued a son of lemon drop kid to run 30. He's traveled really well over longer distances in Hong Kong, and I expect him to run a nice race.
So you're going with the English Invader, Dubai Honor to beat
Damn.
Voyage Bubble and Ensued. Okay, well, I'm chucking Dubai Honor completely out of my trifecta. I think the ground's going to be too firm for him. I think he does his best running. I think Huey mentioned it as well on ground that has a little bit of cut in it, and yeah, I just think that if that ground's going to be really firm on Sunday. I'm not convinced he's going to run his best race. So he's not in my trifecta. I'm with Voyage Bubble to get the Triple Crown and for you to capture one of the all-time greatest photographs in horse racing history anywhere around the world.
Let's go.
With J-Mac on board. Look, I think the horse is one of the best. So he's obviously proven himself as the best miler in Hong Kong. I love the way he went over the 2,000 meters. I think in that paceless scenario that you mentioned just before, you should be able to relax and run out a decent mile and a half. So it could be a little bit of a sprint there towards the end. And I'm going to back Voyage Bubble and J-Mac. Ensued for me for second. Purton goes on. He probably could have ridden Bundle Award, no doubt, which is proven, as we mentioned, over the mile and a half last out in the Queen Mother Memorial. But Obs for Ensued, who was running well for fourth in the behind Tastiera in the QE2 Cup a few weeks back, I think he's poised for a big race and does have experience over the distance. Fourth in the Vars last December, and for third, coming out of the same races, Ensued Rubylot. I'm a sucker for listening to our guests, Alex, when they come on, and as Huey pointed out, he did win the Classic Cup over the 9 furlongs. He's certainly race fit. This is start number 6 for him for the year. And David Hayes, a legend you just called him, he certainly knows how to train a stayer. He's had a few Caulfield Cup winners over the 2,400 metres and a Melbourne Cup winner over the years too, over the 3,200 metres. So Voyage, Hong Kong trifecta for me, Voyage Bubble to beat Ensued and Rubylot for third. Now, best bet, I'm not kidding. Even before I spoke to Huey, I liked the chances of Geneva in the nightcap, race 11, number 3. Huey won aboard him twice earlier in the season, jumps back on, and what looks to be another winnable race, and Hugh gave us the leg up on the show. So that is good enough for me for a best bet, race 11, number 3, Geneva. How about you?
I'm going to race 9. And I'm going to Justifying with Zini getting on. He had a little bit of a tough go to the barriers last out. It kind of spent his race a little bit there, but he was so incredibly impressive. First up, gets in at super lightweight here at 1,000 meters. So he's one that I'm going to be following going forward beyond this season, but I do think he's got a big chance there in race 9.
Nice one. Okay, so race 9, number 10, Justifying for you, Andrea Azzini for Casper Founds. And I know you've got your eye on a couple of the Griffin races between now and the end of the season as well. And we've got a couple in the card on Sunday. What exactly, do you mind telling us, is a Griffin race, Alex?
So it's restricted races for horses that are 2 and 3 years old to kind of get them started earlier in the season. So they're not running in the class system just quite yet. And it just gives them that opportunity to start a bit sooner if they're more precocious and ready to go. And Francis does have a horse in that race who's by Nyquist out of a Street Cat mare. His name is, where did it go? My computer's being slow. His name is King Dance with Lyle Hewitson on him. So, I'm always kind of looking out for those American pedigrees. But we'll see as the season progresses here going forward at the end of the season, you'll start seeing more of these Griffin races pop up. And a horse in the past that had run through it who'd set track records for the class, the Griffin class, was California Spangle, who obviously had gone on to win the Alquaz Sprints, Classic Cup, Hong Kong Miles. So it's just an interesting series and an interesting set of races. Not a series, but it's an interesting set of races that we'll probably be following as the season progresses here, as the grade ones come to an end here with the champion and Chater.
Group ones. But yeah, so race 1, number 3, King Dance. Keep an eye on that one in the lid lifter at Sha Tin on Saturday night, North American time. Anything else take your fancy or of interest in this card on Saturday?
Yeah, I can never peg him at the right time, but Cap Farah, I've talked about him so much and I just can never get on at the right time. But from everything I've been told, he's always been pegged to be a better horse at the 2,000, and it'll be very interesting to see how he runs at 2,400 meters. And if he does run well here, he might be a future staying star in Hong Kong. But He's one that I'm going to be looking for, and he's absolutely gorgeous horse too.
Nice.
The
Okay.
Derby winner.
Yeah, the Derby winner, Craig Williams, flying back in from Australia. I think he's riding in Queensland, the Queensland Winter Carnival, on Saturday. So he'll jump on a flight probably from Brisbane on Saturday night and arrive into Hong Kong on Sunday morning, ready for that ride in the Champions and Chater Cup. All right, well, we've certainly covered the Hong Kong Triple Crown, but we've got to mention the American Triple Crown as well, or leg 2 of the Triple Crown, the Preakness, taken out by journalism on the weekend. What a race. And Umberto Rispoli becoming the first Italian rider to win a American Triple Crown race. Geez, when he found out about that piece of information in the post-race media conference, he had a smile from ear to ear, and you couldn't help but be happy for Umberto, the former Hong Kong rider who shifted his tack to California, and also the whole journalism team, from trainer Michael McCarthy to Aaron Wellman at Eclipse Thoroughbreds and everybody
Right
else.
there, the Italian horn. One of us. It's
There
one
you
of
go.
us. I text him
Nice.
after the race. I go, hey, bud. I go, you did something before Frankie Dettori. You won an American Classic race, so congratulations.
Yeah, that's good.
Unbelievable horse. And, like, 'cause you can see him like in his training in the mornings, especially in Kentucky. He's just an athletic thing. Like he's big, but he's fluid, and he's got so much athleticism, and he needed every ounce of that to make his way through that hole to win that race. But exciting horse, and I'm excited to see him in Belmont get a rematch against Sovereignty, and hopefully we get good ground where it's not off. Because I do think if those two had run again in the Derby on a fair track without the chaos at the start, I think that result might have been a little bit different.
Yeah, who knows? And I think it certainly shuts up a few of the conversations about the Triple Crown spacing needs to change as well, right? When you've got so many horses that have just backed up 2 weeks later and run well in the Preakness, including journalism, who really was only a length away from effectively heading to Belmont as with the Triple Crown on the line. So yeah, I'm a traditionalist when it comes to that. We don't need to get into that, by the way. That's for another time,
Brownie,
another show.
we'll talk about that later in the season. My idea for a modified Triple Crown if it ever does happen. I got a good idea for that.
Okay. I got to say, though, I really love the Hong Kong Triple Crown. A mile and a quarter, and a mile and a half. Now, that is just a true test of a horse's ability to be able to step up from that over the space of a couple of months. I think it's pretty awesome. And if Voyage Bubble can do this on the weekend, I think certainly his name will go down in the history books for sure.
It's a mile and a quarter, a mile and a half, and then you've got Champions Day in the middle of it too,
Yeah.
which is an extra layer of intrigue to it. And then you get the thunderstorms this time of year too. So like you can have some of the craziest weather for this race here. We've
Mm.
seen it in the past too, where I can't remember the horse's name he won. It was like Gerald Mosey was on him. It was just sheets and sheets and sheets of rain. You could barely see the finish of the race. That's probably why I can't remember the horse's name because I couldn't see it. But no, imagine American Triple Crown if the first leg was a one-turn mile at Belmont Park and it ended on the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, let's save that for another
So
time.
save it. We'll
Another
save
show.
it.
All right, Alex. I hope you have a great time out there on a Sunday, your time at Sha Tin. Saturday night, North American time for us is race 1, the big race of the night, 1:10 a.m. Pacific, 4:10 a.m. Eastern if you're watching in North America. But I know that we've got fans all around the world now, so please check your local guides and go onto the Hong Kong Jockey Club website for all the latest information, news, and free form or PPs, whatever you call it. But yeah, enjoy the final Group 1 of the season from Hong Kong. We'll, of course, review it on next week's show. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you, Brownie.
And we will see you next week on the Hong Kong Racing Show.